So, for those of you who don't know me, I'm Laura Camacho. I'm the communication coach at Mixonian Institute, and I'm all about communication skills. I'm an introvert. I work with the really smart people and helping them to get buy-in, to get people excited about their businesses if they own their own business, or their projects, or financing if they're seeking capital for a startup, that kind of thing. It's all about persuasion. And my friend Louise, she's a business coach. She's a marketing maven. She is relentless. We have worked together. We've known each other several years. And I mean, that's the word. Once she starts, you can't stop her. You can't give up. You will answer the questions and you will participate and you will get the insight because she doesn't let you go until that happens. And so today we're talking about the brand story. And I would like everybody, somebody doesn't have a mic. Yeah, Katie, now you are muted. Louise is my co-host. So because of all the people involved, the way you're going to communicate with us is in the chat. So I would really like it if people in the chat would write down some of their favorite brands. No, don't do that. Tell me what industry you're in. We're going to do the brands later, but first let's tell me what industry you're in. I see. Hey, Kate. Kay, and yes, higher education. All right.
Yep.
What else? Come on, everybody. Just practice. We want you to be practicing. I see somebody. If you can just write it in the chat. I make and sell high-end needlepoint kits. Oh, I love that. Product development management.
One of our Southern Sea girls. Yeah.
Yes, environmental consulting. How cool is that? All right. Well, those are a few of the industries we have. Some people are just still coming on right now.
We'll get settled here a little bit.
Right. So this is how we're going to structure our time together. I'm going to share a little bit of my latest research. I'm on this rant about, oh yes, the Mixonian intern is also on. So yay. About how our brains have changed because of the algorithms. And so while stories, historically, that's always how we've shared information. In fact, back in the time of Socrates, this is 500 years before Christ, he was worried that people were going to lose their memories just because of writing that was being invented. Because at that time, everything that was known was written, was not written, it was in your head. And so they always made stories and poems to help you remember. And then, fast forward to today, I mean, we don't even know more than, I only know my phone number and my husband's phone number. Even my kids, I know the area code and the first 3 digits. I don't know my mom's phone number. Hi, April. Good to see you. Anyway, so we're going to, April is in commercial real estate. We were talking about what industry we're in. So we're going to make the case for why the story today is more important than it was even last year. And then Louise is going to help go through the structure of a brand story, because stories need structure. I mean, that comes from, again, the Greeks, way back, the dramas, the theater that they created, and it's been refined through the years. You have to have a hero and a villain and some kind of structure to your story. And then at the end, we're going to have questions and answers, so you can get questions answered specific to your situation. Because I know a lot of times one thing is how to do it, but then in my specific case, I'm not really sure how to apply that. So you have the opportunity to ask that question again through the chat. And at the end, we're going to tell you about a workshop we're doing May 16th. We're going to give you some details about that, which will be really the implementation of everything that we're teaching you now and more, plus the chance to practice, because we know that practice makes perfect. And it's, as long as something's just swirling around in your head, it's not really getting it out there. Hi, April, she wants to establish her own brand. That's April from the commercial real estate. Okay, all right. So I want to share a slide with you real quick. Hopefully it will be quickly. Just love this slide. But let me show you. This was is it gonna work? This was Louise and me rehearsing, getting ready for today.
That's good.
All right. So the thing about communication, whether it's face-to-face or in email or in an ad, our brains today are so different than they were 25 years ago, which is roughly when we started getting on the internet. And it's been this like snowball. Its change was just a little bit and gradual, that the kinds of changes you've all heard about. This is not going to be new to you, but I want to remind you that this is why you need to be able to engage people, because everybody's distracted. Some people are calling this the distraction economy, and our attention spans are very low, very short. In fact, they used to say that our attention spans were like a goldfish. And I think they've documented now that goldfish have a longer attention spans than what we have right now. And then paying attention and engagement is not the same thing. Like I spoke to a big group of project managers yesterday, and I told them, I could take off a certain article of clothing and I would grab your attention, but that really wouldn't engage you in the content, because we don't want, first of all, you have to get somebody's attention, but then you have to engage them to get them interested in what you're talking about. And so that's more challenging. We are addicted to dopamine. I mean, think about it. When is the last time you took a break from technology? And I hope you have tried it. It's hard. I mean, it is super hard. I remember years ago, like once or twice I would forget my phone. This is when I was working at MUSC, and I would forget my phone. And the first time, it was probably 8 years ago or something, I was able to get through the day. and I forgot it maybe 2 or 3 years later, and I had to go home and get it, even though it made me late for work, because of the anxiety that we feel not being connected, not getting those dings. Because every time we get a like, or we get a comment, or we get a text from somebody we like, that's a little micro dose of dopamine. So we've got that going on. We've also got what we call keyboard activism going on, where people get, I think somebody calls it addiction to outrage, and people they're losing nuance. Like, you can't be subtle. It's just like things are being put into one camp of, like Louise and I were discussing this morning, national health care, and whether we didn't go into an in-depth discussion, but something as important to all of us as is healthcare, we can hardly have a conversation about it, because you're either, in one side is that you're in favor of the single payer system with free, quote unquote, healthcare. And I say that because I had a C-section. I had delivered a baby in the socialized national free healthcare system in Germany. So I know that system. I've experienced it. Or you don't care about people. So that keyboard activism is driving people to jump to conclusions and to be less patient than they were otherwise. So these are the things that are going on in our brains that make it harder to pay attention, harder to pay attention. And I'll just say one more thing on this before I pass it on to Louise. But think about, on top of everything else I've told you, the number of choices that we have. And I was blown away by buying orange juice for mimosas for Easter. Oh my gosh, there was pulp-free, calcium with pulp, some kind of vitamin D fortification with calcium, without calcium, with pulp, without pulp. And this is at Walmart. This is not at Whole Foods. It's not a fancy grocery store. I'm at Walmart trying to buy orange juice, and I am completely overwhelmed. Like, where's just plain orange juice? And what is plain orange juice? So that's our world today. I mean, so our prosperity has brought unexpected consequences. And so if you want to stand out in the world, you have to be able to engage people. And what we still get engaged with is a good story. All right, Louise, I'll let you take it. Should we want to ask them about their favorite brands now?
Yes. Yeah.
So why don't you share? It doesn't have to be your, the one favorite, because sometimes it's like too much pressure.
And I think the reason behind the question is, what are brands that you think have the best impact with you?
Yeah. And while you're thinking and typing, I'll share one that I like, or a couple that I like. And one is Ralph Lauren clothing, because the guy's been in business for 50 years. He just takes classic clothes, like you see I'm wearing now. This is not Ralph Lauren, by the way, this is Target. But he takes classic clothes and updates them every single season. And I don't even know how many seasons he does. So he just elevates the classic. And I like Bando because it's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So Merrill Shoes, Neiman Marcus, Kirk Silver.
Sorry.
Anybody else? What's your favorite? What brands do you like, folks?
You there?
Kate Spade, India Hicks, Amanda Brooks, Cutter Brooks, Patagonia. That's a strong brand. And that whole Patagonia is built on a story, I think. I forgot the guy's name, French dude, or Yves something. That's a great. India Hicks is also a brand built on a story. Mercedes is a great story. Yes, I got to meet the social media manager for Mercedes in Atlanta last month. It was fascinating because how you sell something like a $40,000 car, how do you use social media for that?
Let's talk about why we asked that question.
Yes.
Can we do that? Because I think it's important to look at what gets through all the clutter to each of us. How does somebody get through to us? And that kind of brings us why we're here. And that is, we have to break through that clutter, whether it's your personal brand or your company's brand, you're trying to start a new business, you're a small business owner. Because if you can't differentiate yourself from your competitors, you're just a commodity. They can get it everywhere. It's ubiquitous. Mm-hmm. And if you stop and ask yourself, why am I in business? Or if you're trying to promote yourself, get a new promotion, why am I uniquely qualified for that position? Or you're trying to sell real estate, you have to be able to turn that around and show a way why that product or yourself is uniquely qualified to solve somebody's problem or fill a niche. Because if we can't do that, it's just like, let's go buy grapes at the grocery store. There's not a whole lot of difference between them all. And it's a commodity.
And correct? That's low price. That's the bottom end. And I mean, none of us are in this commodities business. We want to sell at we want to be the Neiman Marcus of our industry.
Or Nordstrom's, what is Nordstrom's, how do they differentiate themselves from everybody else? It's usually customer service.
Right.
Nordstrom's beats everybody in customer service. I had to do a conference, and I'll tell a funny story on myself, in Charlotte, and I was about an hour away from Charlotte, and I realized I had forgotten my entire suitcase. Except for my hanging clothes. I did have my hanging clothes. I had not the shoes to wear. I had no makeup. I had nothing. So I went to Nordstrom's. I bought a pair of shoes and, trying to find something last minute. And I wore them that day. They were extremely uncomfortable and they weren't cheap. So I took them back to Nordstrom's and I said, I'm so sorry. I just wore these inside. But I'd like to return them. They said, they didn't question me. They said, we want you to be satisfied. So they now have built loyalty with me because they solved my problem. and they filled a niche, and they've always been known for customer service. So, you know, the other basic thing is when we're talking about brand, and I'm sure everybody on here knows this, but we're not talking about your logo or your color scheme or, you know, any of that, because that is a component of your brand. It really is the experience you deliver. And you might even see it as a unwritten warranty to the consumer on the other side. What are you promising to do? And I heard today, again, on the news, because I do some work at the MBA school at William & Mary, and Katie, I think, is getting ready to be a graduate of that MBA school soon, is that when you go in for an interview, it's not repeating your whole resume. They can read that. What they want to know in a concise and impactful manner is, why are you uniquely qualified that job? And then tell a story on how you've demonstrated those skills. So wrapping that all around is, you can't just say, I'm a creative person, I like people. Tell me anything. I hear that a lot. Well, prove it to me. What have you done to demonstrate that? And so that's kind of why we're here today, is to give you some ideas about how to do that. So the question of asking what are some of your favorite brands are to kind of look at them and say, okay, why Neiman Marcus? Why Merrill Shoes? You, Ralph Lauren, you like that classic look of Ralph Lauren, so that fills a niche for you.
Right, but it's classic, but it's elevated. That's
right.
what.
Right, and you can count on it.
True.
Know that he is going to keep up, update those trends. You're right, it's elevated. So it's not just the same old thing. Oh, it may be another seersucker jacket that has a special trim on it the next year or whatever.
Exactly,
right.
Piping or something.
Yeah. So keep in mind those two things: the experience you deliver. And I know, Tricia Heaton, with your beautiful artwork on your needlepoint, you probably think of, I went on your website, by the way, I went on Tricia's website, and beautiful pictures about travel and things like that. But what I want you to think about is, when you come up with this story or this statement of your brand messaging in 3 sentences or less, that should be the opening statement, the place on your home page of your website, because you've got, as Laura just said, you've got this long. You've got that long to get somebody's attention. And if you are making them click 3 different times to figure out your story, you've lost them. How many
Right.
pictures there are.
And I want to point out something about the story that has been something kind of recent that I've learned. As you think about like my story has to do with being an introvert, somebody who started off with bad communication skills and really had to learn what makes it a good communicator. Whereas somebody who's naturally charismatic, for them, they walk into a room and they start talking to people and it's effortless and they don't know what they do because it just comes natural. Whereas I know what it's like to actually turn around and leave the room because I don't see anybody I know and I don't know what to say. But that doesn't mean that I only work with introverts or that only introverts get me. See, I used to think that if you say, we'll just take the needlepoint example and say that she only does, her thing is that she does modern design. And so she conceivably could think, oh, well, then somebody who likes traditional design won't buy from me. That's not true. That like Bando is a super fun accessories company that I buy from, and I'm, old, white, middle-aged mother, and that is not their target audience at all. Their target audience, they aim for like young 20s single women. So even though all their marketing is for that demographic and that story, I still buy that and I like it. So you can have your story that's really focused on a certain differentiator, but that's not going to limit your audience to that differentiator. I don't know if I'm explaining that.
I think that's a great point, but also you ought to develop several stories.
Oh yeah, that's
right.
Good.
So, and we'll get to the components of these, but you should have stories for different audiences. And Katie and I have talked about this a little bit about hers, if they're early adopters or are they millennials, because the stories can't be ubiquitous, because then you've lost some people, even though Bando has gotten through to you, Laura. But if you have the opportunity to then fine tune it, because we do these days, I mean, back in our day, we typed our resumes. And anyway, but now you can customize your message. And whether you're selling real estate, you're selling needlepoint, you're selling software, you're trying to sell yourself, then you've got to cut through the clutter. And the best way is, and I've said this before, is the benefit sell, right?
So explain how that works. Explain how that works.
So the benefit sell. So you think about it. It's not real. When you go in for an interview and you're trying to tell them how uniquely qualified you are to help to take that position, tell a story. But how you want to turn it around is, how are your skill sets going to help them achieve their goals?
Okay.
Because at the end of the day, that manager has got all these goals. He's got pressure on him to, meet his goals at the end of the year. So he wants to know how you're going to help him do that. If you're selling real estate, you want to know the people sitting across from you have needs. You've done your research. You know what their needs are. So you got to sell the benefits to them of selling that piece of property. Whether it's needlepoint, Tricia, you've got, there is a benefit. What are the benefits to doing needlepoint? There are all those things that you can think about. So it's always the benefit sell. I don't care what it is. So have you ever heard of the Oreo effect? It's whether you're giving, if you're in a debate with somebody or you're trying to deliver maybe not so pleasant information, you start off with a compliment.
Oh yeah, I've heard.
Give them the bad news in the end with a compliment. And the same thing with, on a positive note, when you're doing your benefit sell, this is what my strength is, or the strength of the product. This is how it's going to benefit you. And this is, why you should buy it. So again, think about your consumer and what's the benefit sell to them. And again, you can customize that for the consumer and have stories to tell them. Imagine this. If you walk into a store and there are too many choices and you've got something in your brain that you want to cook for dinner, how do you figure out how to choose all those choices? What can I do to streamline that? So keep that in mind. But let's talk about just asking about, and I know some of you said what industries you are in, but here are some questions you ought to ask yourself. On a daily basis, does your communications accurately reflect the core experience you wish to deliver? Let me say that again. On a daily basis, does your communications accurately reflect the core experience you wish to deliver? Okay, then keep that one in mind. The second one, are your messaging or business fundamentals consistent across all platforms? So we were talking about this today. You really have to hit people about 6 different times before they're going to notice your brand or you. So if you have a consistent message across all your platforms, when you talk to people on LinkedIn, on Instagram, on Facebook, on whatever platforms you use, honing in on that short, concise, impactful story is going to have more effect. Does everyone who works for you understand the root experience you're trying to deliver? So if you've got people working for you, or again, it could be on the other side that you're trying to sell to, do they understand that experience you're trying to deliver? And do your clients understand it? So not just your clients, but the people that work with you. So say if you're developing something, are all your people that are working with you, whether they're designers, do they all understand the experience you're trying to deliver? So keep those things in mind and ask those things to yourself, and it will help bring things clearer to you. So I want to keep those in mind. Do we want to talk about the structure of a brand story?
Yes, we do, because time is flying by. So we need to talk about
to get people a chance to ask questions. So here is this structure of writing a compelling brand story. And again, a compelling brand story has to be short, concise, but impactful. So you can put it on your website. The first thing you say to somebody is, for instance, me, I say, I bring clarity to chaos. And if you look at my logo, you'll see all these bubbles and it's clear in the middle. It's like a kaleidoscope. And I take all this information, I ask a million different questions and help bring clarity to all that. So the first thing, the beginning of your story is what problem or niche are you trying to solve? That's number one. The middle of this story is what differentiates you from your competitors. And three, what does success look like? So envisioning the destination, I don't mean where you're going on a trip. What does success look like? What's that destination? What do you want people to do? And what does success look like? And it could be, what does success look like for them? Just not you, your personal brand. It could be what you want. But those three things, what problem or niche, what differentiate you, or another way of saying that, your unique selling point, and what does success look like? So I think those are things. And then, we can talk, and if you can do that in a short period of time. We did a workshop in Charlotte not too long ago, and there's always that aha moment. And when you can get a deeper dive into this of, oh my gosh, instead of saying, oh, I sell needlepoint, you can say, I give people the joy of creating an heirloom or something like that. Isn't that more impactful than just saying, I create needlepoint designs? So those are the kind of things you want to think about. So here's some other things. Attributes. Concise. It needs to have emotional connection, just like I said, joy of creating an heirloom, something like that. Authentic. You can't just be, I love people and I'm creative. That's not very authentic. Maybe it is, but that's not going to go anywhere. And rooted in purpose. Laura, have you seen the Yum Yum brand?
Oh, I love it. Libby Summers. Everybody really should look that up, to Google that. Not now. But
the Yum Yum brand, she really, talk about rooted, authentic, and rooted in purpose. Her whole purpose in creating that brand was to make people smile. Mm-hmm. That was it. And that's what she does. And if you follow her on Instagram, you will smile because she is hilarious. And she's crazy, but she's really rooted in purpose. And that's a perfect example of that. So I hope that's resonating with everybody.
Right. Well, I think we need to see what questions you have. Yes. How can we help you, specifically with your situation, and what questions do you have about your story that you want to make?
I think just while they're writing those down, we can also make sure that you look at that worksheet, and that will try to kind of give you some beginnings to help you, like what question do you get asked most frequently? And if you can't answer that question about your business with a creative story, then, we need to work on that. So.
Right. And your stories can come from your own life. They can come from your clients. They can come from, you can even have a what not to do, like a story from a competitor. That's another thing I was asking Louise about earlier today in the context of the brand story, because I have in Charleston a lot of competition for communication skills, but it's mostly these big off-the-shelf, I won't name them, brands who have very strong brands, but their methodology is 100 years old. So, that's one of the things I say.
That doesn't, because something is 100 years old is not worthy or worth, but I think they are more cookie cutter.
Right. Well, but if it weren't for social media, it might not even be outdated. But because of all the things going on in our brains, when this methodology was created, that did not exist. Yeah, you're right. Something like if we were selling French furniture and it's 100 years old, and that would be a selling point. All right. So what questions do you have?
Come on, give
Don't
us
be
a tip.
bashful. Does your personal brand change depending on your audience?
Yes.
Yes, the aspect that you talk about it. Like
Right.
sometimes I talk about public speaking, and sometimes I talk about team building, and sometimes I talk about leadership. Those are the like the three buckets that I personally talk about.
So what is your audience? What are they expecting? What does success look like? Remember? So then gear that to that benefit sell to them. I'll tell a real quick story on that. I was trying to help a William Mary student kind of with their personal brand. And she was kind of a quiet introvert. And I always ask the question, tell me something about yourself that I wouldn't see on your resume. Because a lot of people ask that in an interview, by the way. And she couldn't come up with anything. And at the very bottom of her resume, I saw that she was on the William and Mary equestrian team. I said, oh, you ride? She goes, yes. She goes, I jump. And I said, tell me how many times you've been thrown from a horse. And she goes, oh gosh, I can't count that high. And I said, how many times did you get back on the horse? And she said, every time. And I said, you tell somebody that story and about the resilience and tenacity that you have, that you've learned from riding a horse, that you're going to be thrown down sometimes, you're going to fall off, but you got back on. See how that makes a difference? And when you tell somebody that story, it will have a huge impact and will set you apart. So those are the kind of things we're talking about.
Yes, and April's got a great question. It's a great communication. It goes to the show, don't tell. She says she wants to, one of my issues is proving that what I say is true. And I know what you mean with that for sure. It says, for example, saying I am hardworking versus showing that I am hardworking. And I would like, if you had to prove in a court of law that you work hard, how would you do that? I personally say that I also work hard. I would say I'm usually start work at 7 a.m. Now I don't burn the midnight oil because I'm in bed by 10, but I also work on a lot of Saturdays.
It's not about the hours you work. What it is what do you accomplish, and why do you, like you said, what is benefit to them?
Yes. What do they care that you're hardworking?
What do they care about? Is it that you are efficient and you come up with techniques of time management that help you work harder, faster, and with better results? That's what they want to know. It's not a matter of working longer hours than everybody else, because that doesn't mean anything to me, because you could be wasting time all day.
That's true.
Right?
Okay, we've got a question from Trisha. If your brand includes your name, how often do you use photos of yourself on social media? I don't do it. Yes, you should do it. I'm wondering if I should do it more. Yes, yes, yes.
If your brand is your name, otherwise, why have it as your name? Now,
even if it's not your name, I think you should use photos.
Well, it makes it a little more authentic. I think Tricia, I think you have a beautiful picture of your mother on the front of your website, because I happen to know her from the Southern Sea. And you find, people are traveling, show you on a train doing your needlework, or, things like that. So people get invested in the experience you're trying to deliver. And unless you don't want to be part of that, it makes it more authentic and makes it more real. It doesn't have to be always a staged picture, but it makes it more authentic. And I think, yes, you should.
She says that she is the mother and that you're thinking of her daughter. But in any case,
it's a beautiful picture of you anyway.
Yeah. In any case, I can tell you my experience, my brand is Smithsonian Institute, but people know me as Laura Camacho. But I can put the same message on a very attractive, social media graphic, or I can put my picture of myself and the picture of the self, even though you get so sick of seeing yourself. That's what people want. And only happy looks. I did in a photo shoot in October, I recruited members of my family and we did lots of scenes. And some of them were like the boring presentation or the angry meeting, just kind of as a joke, as irony. I love that kind of, silly, witty irony, but the internet doesn't like it. But yes, pictures of yourself or or people, other people, but definitely pictures of yourself. And that goes for everybody here. That's what people, they love smiling faces where where they see your eyes. That's the internet brain getting through the algorithms. What other questions we're going to start? Well, if you want a chance to go through this, answering all those questions and getting feedback and practicing and learning what your strengths are from a psychological point of view, those 5 traits, Ocean, whether I forget what the O is for, but.
Well, I think also if we do a deeper dive, when we have workshops, and you actually will come out of there with that concise, impactful message. It's hard to do this in 30 minutes.
Oh, yes.
We give you the tip of the iceberg and some questions to think about. But if you can get to our workshop, we have one in Charleston. Hopefully we'll have them in other cities if you can't come. But you really come out with that aha moment, and you walk out with a practice 1, 2, or 3 types of concise, impactful messaging that you can use across all of your platforms. And when you meet somebody, as they all say, the elevator pitch, what do? You want to leave them saying, tell me more. That's the whole purpose of all this. You want to say, give them something intriguing about you, not recite your resume, but you want to shake their head and say, gosh, tell me more about your business, or tell me more about you. You're interesting.
Right. Yeah, just remember, their brain is is overwhelmed with all the choices of orange juice. We've got another question from April about how do you approach clients and customers about including their success stories and testimonials. And I would say insert that in the conversation early on. Most people are happy. Well, I will say I don't know about real estate. I know in coaching, like, a lot of people don't want people to know that they're using a coach. So I have to kind of make that decision. If it's a corporate situation, usually they are super happy to make a testimonial, but a lot of coaching clients don't want anybody to use it without their name.
Let's look at it this way. What's the benefit sell?
Right.
How is it going to benefit your customer, not you?
I told you she was relentless.
Right. So how might it benefit your customer to include their testimonial on your website or whatever you're trying to do? Because yes, if you knew them well, they may say, oh yes, you were so good. Yes, please use it. But can you turn it around and say, gosh, I would love to give your business exposure for whatever reason, and say, or however you want to do it, if they're philanthropic or whatever, say, I'd love to give your business more exposure. Would you be interested in letting me include your testimonial on our website?
Yes.
That's much better than saying it's going to benefit me.
Right. Okay. And we have someone saying that she doesn't want to use pictures because she had radiation in one of her eyes and it doesn't look normal, which you can always have a picture made that de-emphasizes that. If you have a professional photo shoot, that's possible. Or you can use pictures of your dog, or there's ways to work around it if you have
what industry is she in?
Oh, she's a volunteer. She's a volunteer.
Okay, well, there can be active pictures of you as a volunteer.
Yeah.
Okay, you have to show your face. Do you do something with your hands, or you're helping other people? They could show a different angle from you.
Yes, those are great.
It doesn't have to be you sitting down like I am right now, full on, but it could be more of an active. You could show your hands doing something, or your group of people, or things like that. So always are big on this professional photography. Really, now Instagram live stories, you'll see mine. I'm sometimes going, oh my God, I look so stupid. But they like them that way. Those don't have to be professional. But for your website or Facebook, sometimes having good lighting and professional photography is really important. And I would say that too, even if it's for your personal brand, you need to have good photography, good stationery to write thank you notes with, because that's another way. Even if you've made a sales call on somebody, you can send an email, but it's real important for your brand to send a thank you note on a staged piece of cardstock that may have your logo on it or something like that. That goes miles.
It does. It does. When I get thank you notes that are handwritten, it just blows me away. Oh, we have a quick announcement about the workshop.
Yeah.
Well, I'll send a link to everybody to sign up. It's $295. And it starts at 8:30 in the morning, goes until 4:30, and it includes yummy snacks and, of course, lunch. And it's at the Indigo Inn, and we're going to have lunch by the pool. And they completely remodeled this hotel recently. And the pool looks like it's on a Caribbean island. It's covered with palm trees.
But more important, you'll walk away with a concise, impactful message about how you can do this and really change the trajectory of your business.
Right. But there's also the bonus.
Oh, yes, the bonus.
For those of you on this call, if you sign up by Monday, you can have a half hour of individualized coaching with me or Louise. Yeah. And I know that a half hour is not a lot of time, but it is a lot of time to get one or two really specific questions. I know so many times I'll be doing something and there's this one thing that I want to ask. Like this morning I was asking Louise, how do I talk about my competition, differentiate myself without putting them down? Because that would definitely, normally it's not good, but in Charleston it would be really bad.
Well, and we came up with a very
and we came up with a very workable solution. So if you sign up by Monday, again, we'll send out the link. You don't
have to live in Charleston. You can come on down to Charleston right now from New England. I know you're up there and you'd love to see Charleston in the spring.
It may be a great time to be in Charleston.
You're in Charlotte. Come on down. Anyway, and pass the word, please, because I think a lot of people can use this. This probably has raised more questions than we answered, but I hope we get you thinking.
And it'll be good networking. These events always are good networking. So you've got the networking, you're going to have this leadership assessment to get a picture of, where you're strong psychologically, and then work on your brand story and telling that and practicing the delivery, which is so that the next event you go to, you don't even have to think about it. You just walk in and you start saying, hey, how? That's a good way to start a story. Or, have you ever had this happen? And just go with it. So
somebody asks you, what do you do? Instead of say, I sell commercial real estate. She said, I connect people with assets or properties that will help them succeed.
Or help them build wealth. I mean, I'm working here to make money to buy commercial real estate so I can create wealth. I mean, that's
whoever your audience is. So we got 2 more minutes. Anybody else have a question?
Have a question about the workshop or about your brand story? Take advantage. I'd love to hear from you.
No, so I'll just tell one of the last workshops. There was a gal in there who was starting an art consultancy business, and she didn't know how to talk about it. She goes, I don't know what I do. I don't know how to tell people. I said, okay, so tell me why you do what you do. And she said, I really love how art speaks to you. And people come to me all the time and say, do you know any, artists that might do this or have this kind of look? And I know a lot of artists. I said, so you really are connecting art lovers, and you have the resources to connecting with the artists who will fulfill their art needs. Right. And that's not exactly what she said. But again, making that connection. What's the benefit to the audience, to the art collector versus the artist? So I think that's what you have to look at. I had another client who did beautiful embroidered pillows and heirlooms, and she said, I don't want to be just known as an embroiderer because her things are beautiful pieces of art. Mm-hmm. And I said, you're not just an embroiderer, you're an artist using color textiles to create lasting memories.
Awesome. Love that. I love beautiful textiles too. My mom just moved up here and we were putting some sheets in the guest bedroom, and she said they were 20 years old and they were just exquisitely beautiful. So thank you all for coming. I like to tell people I'm a relationship builder. This is from Katie now. I'm the development officer at a university. My title scares people away because I'm a fundraiser. Well, you are a relationship builder, and you're also you're a supporter. You're a growth catalyzer. And
you are helping people invest in the future of our country. You are, instead of
that's good.
Development officer, you bring people together to invest in the university in order to make the future leaders of our country.
Right.
So yes, development officers, because oh my God, they're calling me, they want money. But if you can find a way that's going to show them how that benefits them, maybe it's, they need some place to park their money. But why is that important to them?
And I think that, Katie Nell, you're in a good place right now in this moment in our nation's history, because there's so much divisiveness, and she's a Christian university. So I think that you have what is going to happen to our country if we don't, they don't want to go into the scare, but we are supporting the people who are building our country on traditional values, on family values, world changers. I love that. You might want to connect with Charleston Bilingual Academy they use that world changers, but they're preschool. So those are the preschoolers that might end up at your
audience, and you're usually going to be speaking to people who believe. And so, why should they do this? And it's really important to the future of our country to have those type of leaders who are rooted in values. So,
and I know that I feel a lot of times the country, we need change, but I don't know what to do about it. So you are giving people something to do. So that's another problem you solve is, do you ever feel frustrated with what's going on in our country? You want to do something about that?
Invest in this university.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So.
Yep. All right. Well, hope to see everybody on May 16th.
The Thursday in Mount Pleasant. Come on. We will see you there, hopefully, and maybe talk to you. If I were you, I would want to have the coaching before, so then you'll be even more prepared for the workshop, but you could always have it afterwards also.
Yeah, because you might even want to after that, you may hit a wall when you go back to implement it, and you might want that 30 minutes to say, here's some stumbling blocks I hit after I was there. So.
Right.
So anyway.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much. Thank you. This was fun. See you soon. Bye-bye. Thank you. Thank you.